The new buyer agency laws are in place, and so many agents are freaking out, wondering what they're going to do. Going forward, you're going to have to sign a buyer's agency agreement and show your value up front so those buyers feel comfortable signing that agreement so you can ultimately work with them. The big problem is that most agents have never done this, or if they have done it, they've only done it with friends and family, and they don't feel very comfortable doing it. Well, in this video, I'm going to go through a complete breakdown of my own buyer presentation that I've been using for the past 7 years. I became a real estate agent 9 years ago. Now I'm a team leader, and I've been through the process of starting out brand new, becoming a pretty high producing real estate agent, building a real estate team, and going through that entire funnel. And through that process, I discovered that I wanted to do the buyer presentation instead of showing people houses that I didn't know were qualified or I didn't know were committed to me. So this is nothing new to me, and it shouldn't be anything new to you. So in this video, my goal is to make this whole process less scary for you and get you through these questionable times as a real estate agent so you feel confident working with buyers again. So let's dive right into the video. My name is Chris with New Agent HQ. On this channel, we give you all the tools, resources, and education you need to be successful from day one as a real estate agent. Before we dive into this video, I do want to offer you our Black Book of Real Estate Scripts. Inside this booklet, we have all of our scripts that I use along with my real estate team to go out there and get listings. So if you want to check that out, be sure to download our guide. There are a bunch of low pressure scripts, which is nice because high pressure selling is really hard, especially when you're selling real estate. Plus, it's really not a lot of fun to pressure sell somebody into buying or selling a home. So these scripts are all relationship based, so make sure to grab them down below. And if you want to visit the website where you can get those scripts, it's newagenthq.com/what to say. Give me your feedback down in the comment section below if you love the scripts or if you absolutely hate them. Either way, I want to hear from you. So let's talk about mastering the buyer presentation. So first things first, I want to tell you what to expect. So first things first, we're going to basically show you the buyer agent funnel, just so you know how to start this process and how to look at all your leads and get them down the funnel so you end up with more buyer clients. This is something that real estate offices and brokerages should be teaching from day one. And unfortunately, I don't think they do. I have never learned it, and I had to pay a lot of money for education from top producers to be able to even get this information. So I'm going to share this with you first. Second thing is I'm going to share with you the costly lessons that I learned through working with buyers. After that, I'm going to go through the mindset shift because I think a lot of this has to do with your mindset, because working with buyers and charging them a commission is a big change compared to what most agents are used to. So in this video, I'm going to help you change your mindset around that and work through it so you feel more comfortable and confident going through this change. After that, I'm going to talk to you about what to bring to the appointment. That's the meat and potatoes of this training. Everybody wonders what to bring on the appointment, what to say during the appointment, and how the appointment should actually flow. So I'm going to go through all that with you step by step. Last but not least, I'm going to go through the entire buyer presentation with you. I'm going to flow through it a little quicker than usual, but I'm going to get you through it so you know exactly what to say when you go to your buyer appointment. First things first, let's talk about the real estate funnel. Now, every business has a funnel. Now, the best way to look at this and to approach this is to think of it like you have a magnet at the top of the funnel. You're pouring things into your funnel, and at the very bottom of your funnel, you produce the result that you want. So in this case, it's going to be closed sales and real estate commissions. So if we look at this slide here, you notice that we have a magnet. Now, the magnet could be anything. It could be prospecting through Redx. It can be leads that you buy through Facebook or Google. It can be social media marketing, like the posts that you make to attract buyers to you. It can be anything, right? So that's your magnet. It could be a YouTube channel that you start that attracts leads into your system. So once you have that set up and you start getting leads into your CRM, then you're going to want to move them into the prospect category. These are when they first fall into your CRM and you're trying to figure out, what do they want? How can I help them? And where do they land in my actual pipeline process? So once you figure that out, you're going to move them to your warm lead bucket, your bad lead bucket, or person bucket, which is somebody that just doesn't have any interest at all, but you can continue to market to them and maybe they'll come back to you in 6 months or a year. So once you have that information, you can organize them in your CRM and follow up appropriately. From there, you're going to take those warm leads, follow up with them, and hopefully start setting your appointments for your buyer consultations. That's where this video comes into play. I'm going to show you how to feel more confident when you actually sit down with that client and go through the entire process of getting them signed on as a client, explaining your value proposition, and explaining your compensation as a real estate agent now that sellers are no longer paying for it. After that, you get the client signed. This is when you start working with them one-on-one exclusively, showing them houses, negotiating offers, writing up contracts, all the fun stuff, going to home inspections, negotiating appraisals. There's a lot of stuff, as you know, if you're already a real estate agent out in the field. You already know how to do that stuff in most cases. You've probably been working with buyers for a little while and you know how to do that. If not, then we have other videos on the channel that you can check out that will show you that process and help train you on that aspect of the business. But after that, we're going to move into under contract and then get a closed sale and a commission, which is one extra point for your business and more revenue in the door so we can start making more money and being more profitable as a real estate entrepreneur. Next, I want to dive into the costly lessons that I learned. So the first thing is you have to establish clear expectations. Anytime you talk to a lead, anytime you talk to a person, you have to get clear expectations in place. Otherwise, you are either going to underdeliver or overdeliver, and it's going to lead to problems if you underdeliver or you deliver a result that the person was not expecting. For example, if I started this video and I said, hey, we're going to teach you how to do a buyer consultation, blah, 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 and then I went down a completely different rabbit hole and started talking to you about how to get your next listing and what prospecting scripts I use, then that would be a little weird and you would probably not like this video and you'd probably click off of it. The same thing with leads, the same thing with clients is that you have to set the expectation ahead of time so they know what to expect going into it. The next thing is you need to show your true value and don't be afraid to walk away. Showing value to a client really comes down to delivering your expertise and showing them all the potential hazards that you're going to help them avoid as a buyer's agent. Now, many people don't know. Many people think we just go open doors, show them around, say, oh, that's a nice looking kitchen, and move to the basement. Oh, that's really nice down here, has high ceilings, you can do this, you can do that. That's not how it works. And people need to know. They need to know all the potential things that can go wrong, and you need to lay that out in a presentation. Number three, protect your time at all costs. If you don't protect your time, nobody else is going to. People will waste it and they'll waste it away at no cost. So you have to protect your time and make sure that you're only working with people that are committed, dedicated, serious, and ready to make a move. Otherwise, you're going to get burned out, aggravated, frustrated, and you're probably not going to want to do this business very long because who the heck wants to drive around, work all weekend, do all this stuff, and not make any money? If you go down that road, that's where people end up quitting and they end up leaving the business. So that's why, in my opinion, I think this new buyer agency thing can be a blessing in disguise because it's going to show you who the serious buyers are and who they aren't, ultimately helping you protect your time in the process. Number 4, be different from your competition. Everybody thinks real estate agents are a commodity. Everybody thinks we're all the same, but we're not, right? We're not. So you need to show them your unique value proposition and show them why they should work with you instead of somebody else. This can be your great 5-star reviews. This can be something specific that you do in the process that other agents might not do. This can be a lot of different things, but you may need to make sure you find out what your unique value proposition is going into the appointment. Number 5 is educating the client more will actually help you in the long run. The more you can top load and educate the client up front, the less you have to do on the back end when you're showing homes. If you go into the home with an educated buyer, you're gonna have a lot less friction and a lot less frustration when you're going through the actual sales process, and this will help you big time in the long term. All right, let's dive into the mindset shift because I think this is where a lot of agents need to work on, especially with this new stuff that's going on with this new lawsuit, and we really need to shift our mindset. Because before it was just kind of like, hey, I'm an agent, you're a buyer, I'm gonna take you out, I'm gonna show you houses. And then we never really had that conversation about how we actually got paid. So first things first, I do want to talk about establishing boundaries, right? Don't allow buyers to take you out and not have this conversation up front. First of all, you're not even really going to be able to do it because you're going to need to have a representation agreement in place, but you need to have this conversation up front. Just like them, you have a job. Your job is being a real estate agent. And if you're going to spend your nights, weekends, holidays, whatever you're doing, showing them property, then they need to know you're going to get paid for it. And they expect you to get paid for what you're doing. They just don't know how. They don't know what it looks like. And that's your job, to be able to explain that to them in a clear way that they fully understand. No one expects you to work for free. So you need to start getting that out of your head and get over the fear of having this conversation, because they have jobs just like you in most cases. And they know if they go to work, they're going to get paid just like you. So having this conversation is totally normal. In fact, when you didn't have the conversation, people probably thought it was a little weird. Like, hey, my agent's doing all this work. How are they even getting paid? So having this conversation up front is a game changer, and don't expect people to think it's weird, because they don't. I've had this conversation so many times, and they're like, yeah, of course, we figured you were going to get paid. It's all good. So don't stress out too much and realize that people understand. The next thing is qualifying your buyers. So this is super important, and this has a little bit less to do with the actual new rules or the lawsuit, but it does come into play big time, because if you spend a lot of time with these people and they can't qualify and they don't end up closing, you're just going to waste a lot of time. And you don't want to do that as a buyer's agent, because at the end of the day, there's only so much time in a day, and you're better off putting your time into clients that have the ability to close. So make sure that whoever you're working with on the mortgage side does a lot of due diligence, and make sure that they're strong buyers, that they can qualify and they're going to be able to close. The next thing is your confidence. Don't go into appointments with new buyers being unconfident. You need to practice the scripts. You need to practice this stuff over and over again, so you become proficient and confident at delivering the message. If you don't do that, or you can't do that, then this is going to blow up, because people are going to feel that. They're going to feel weird about it, and then they're not going to sign your agreement. They're not going to sign your buyer agent commission agreement. They're not going to do none of it, because they're going to feel weird, and they're going to feel like, they're being misled, because you're not leading with confidence. So you need to be confident, and the best way to get confident is by role playing this over and over and over again. Don't be afraid to come back to this video and rewind it and look at it again. Or don't be afraid to reach out to one of the agents in your office and practice back and forth with a buyer consultation. It's all good, and it makes sense to do. The next thing is selective commitment. Now, when you work with buyers, you're going to spend a lot of time, in most cases, showing them property, working them through the process, all this stuff. So in my opinion, it's best to have selective commitment. Commit to buyers that are serious, that are motivated, that you find a good fit, that you can add value to, won't make your life miserable in the process. Now, I know this is probably controversial, and if you're looking to get your first or second or third sale, maybe you listen to this part a little bit less, but once you start producing and turning out numbers, you might not want to work with clients that you're not compatible with, and that's totally okay. If you guys don't vibe, if you guys don't get along, then it's probably best to send them to another agent. And that's fine. That's something that I didn't realize when I first started. And if you work with clients that aren't a good fit for you or your business, you probably will end up stressed out and frustrated. And that's not where you want to be. This is your own business. You're running your own business, and you want to make sure that you're building a business that you actually love and enjoy. Next, let's talk about what to bring to the actual consultation. Let's say you locked in that appointment. You're happy, you're excited, you're pumped up. What do you actually bring? Well, the first thing is your buyer's wish list. Now, I'm going to go through this with you and show you how I go through it, but this is basically going to be the conversation starter when the client first gets into the office and you break the ice. Next is your buyer presentation. This is the value-packed presentation that's going to show them the entire process from start to finish in less than a half an hour. Next is your buyer representation disclosure, going through that process and showing them what it looks like, how it works, and all that. And then you want to go into your buyer agency agreement. So make sure you have those documents in place, you package it all up, and you're ready to go to your buyer agency appointment. And if you want to grab our own home buyer presentation guide, make sure to click the link down below where you can get a copy of it and see if it's a good fit for you. But this is what I've used for the past 7 years, and it's been working really good. So first things first, we're going to go through the house hunting wish list. Now, this page is in the home buyer presentation. I just pull it out before I actually bind it and turn it into a booklet like this. And what I do is I use this page to write down and take notes and go through this one by one. So it starts off with, tell me more about the next home you're looking to buy. Do you want a garage? How many beds and baths do you need? Basic questions, any must-have items. Do you have a fence? Do you need a fence for an animal? Do you have any specific things that the house must need? Are you looking for a fixer-upper? Are you looking for something that doesn't need a lot of work? All these questions are important, but most importantly, it helps you break the ice and really find out what they're looking to accomplish with their move. Now let's go into the actual home buyer guide. So I'm going to go through this step by step with you. This is just the cover page. This is going to be some information about you. You don't want to spend a ton of time on this when you're actually in the appointment talking about yourself. People don't really care all that much, but it is good to have there in case when they go home, if they want to do some research on you, it's all here, which is nice. This is the next page. This is the actual entire journey of going through the process. So it starts with choosing your realtor, choosing a lender, getting pre-approved, searching for your home, and you just walk them through this step by step. And then you make it dynamic. So you want to ask questions. Like, for example, when I get to the home inspection part, I'll be like, hey, do you happen to know a home inspector that you plan on using when you go through the process? And you let them talk. You don't want to just steamroll through this and not ask questions while you go through it, because then people tend to tune out, and that's not what you want. The next page is all about getting pre-approved. It gives them some expectations on, what the lender is going to ask for. You can talk to them about this ahead of time. Obviously, tax returns, their credit report, their monthly debts, bank statements, things like that, just so they know ahead of time what they're going to be asked for when they meet with a lender. This goes through our recommended lenders, so you can, obviously put your lenders there, whoever you want to refer, if you want to refer anybody at all. But this is the page for that. This is the house hunting guide. So this explains to them all the steps that you're going to set them up when they start the house search and how you're going to work with them. This page is really good. This goes into making an offer. So if the person finds a property and they want to make an offer, this is what to expect. It also goes over what to expect when you go into multiple offer situations. So that's something that I definitely touch on, especially now because the market's pretty hot and a lot of homes are going over asking price and they're getting multiple offers. So this will I talk to them about how I can help them as an agent win in a multiple offer situation. And then I also talk about some key points and things that sellers look for specifically when they're reviewing offers, as somebody that's been on the listing side and is going to work with them on the buy side to make their offer as attractive as possible. So go through that with them as well. Next is the 12 mortgage mistakes to avoid. If you have lenders that you refer to, they're going to appreciate this page a lot, because I don't know how many times I've heard stories of people blowing up their deal because they decided to go out and buy a new car or a new couch or a new piece of furniture. And this is going to help people not do that. And it gives them this quick checklist like, hey, quick reminder, if you're going to do any of this stuff, make sure you check with your lender. So definitely good to have inside your buyer consultation and touch upon quickly when you're going through this with them. This is your home inspector list. So if you have home inspectors that you recommend, you can put them here. During this part of the slide, I also kind of talk about what to expect as far as cost. If they're buying a multifamily, they might have a little bit higher cost. And then I kind of tell them like, hey, if you call this one, it might be this price. If you call this one, it might be this price. And that's just experience through working with them in the past. I kind of have an idea what they charge. So just to give them a heads up. And I also always recommend that they call all three and make the best decision for them and who they think is the best fit. This right here is the closing day. So closing day, we just touch quickly on homeowners insurance, how you're gonna have to bring a homeowners insurance binder. You're gonna have to have that all settled and straightened out. And during the process, we'll get them connected to a home insurance agent so they can shop for quotes and all that kind of stuff. If they don't have somebody in mind already, we can connect them with somebody within our network, but that's totally up to them. And then we go over the importance of reviewing the closing disclosure ahead of time and then asking questions to the attorney if anything looks off or anything doesn't make sense. And that's something that we can coordinate and set up a consultation with the attorney as well, if that's something that they want to do once they get to that point of the sale. And then transfer utilities. Nobody wants a house that has utilities turned off. So on the closing day, we always make sure that we contact the clients, make sure that we coordinate any transfer of utilities, and make sure that everything's straightened out so they're ready to move into their house on closing day. Here's also some local utility providers. So they have all the local utility providers on one sheet, so they can just go on to that sheet when they get next to closing with their buyer guide that I give them to take home with them, and call any utility providers that they need to call and transfer. This is the final walkthrough. This is important because it shows all the things we do on the final walkthrough, and it's also a checklist down at the bottom that we can go through with the client as we walk through the house to make sure that everything's working before they finally sign on the dotted line and get the keys to their new house. Last is just a contact page with your information. So that's the actual presentation of the home buyer guide. Now, once you get done with that, it's time to transition into buyer buyer representation. At this point, I asked them like, hey, are you familiar with the way agents can represent you in a transaction? And then I explain the difference between a transaction facilitator and a designated client representative. And I explain how a designated client representative most likely will be representing the seller and how we can represent them as a designated client representative as the buyer. And then I go into that and see how they feel about it. And once we go through that process, we next go into the compensation. See, I always say, are you familiar with the way agents get paid? And some people will say, oh, I'm not sure, or I kind of have an idea or whatever. So next what I do is I say, okay, well, before this is how it worked. So each home would offer a different buyer agency commission as a marketing fee for us to bring them a buyer. So one of the houses might have paid 3%, one might have paid 2%, one might have paid 2.5%. And before, you and your agent would have an agreed upon commission if you had a buyer agency agreement, and they would either take the amount being offered or they would take part of that amount and you would pay part of that amount. But in most cases, they were just taking the amount being offered. With the new NAR lawsuit, that's no longer happening and sellers are no longer offering buyer agent compensation. It has to be negotiated with the buyer's offer. So I charge X%. You can decide whatever that is, right? I can't give you any guidance on that. Whatever your commission you want to charge is, that's what you charge. But you say, I charge X%. And when we make your offer, I'm going to put your offer subject to the seller paying X% in compensation. Or I can make it subject to you paying that. Or we can get some kind of a credit negotiated. There are many ways to do it, and we can craft your offer with that in there. But that's my percentage to work with me. And this is all the stuff that you're going to get throughout that process. And at the end of it, I'm going to do my best to negotiate it with the seller. And if I can't, I'll present to you a couple different ways that we can get it done. But that's how I get compensated. And then also ask them, follow up, do you have any questions? And then from there, they'll tell you any questions, any concerns. And if you need to negotiate your commission back and forth, you can. Obviously all commissions are negotiable and you decide what's right for you. And then that's how you get clients signed. So what questions do you have on this whole buyer agency process? I hope this cleared things up for you a little bit. And if you find this video helpful, drop a comment in the comment section below and just write helpful or write something else so I know you enjoyed the video. And make sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you did like the content so I know to produce more and I know it's helping you in your real estate business. Thanks again for tuning in and have an awesome day. Thanks for tuning in to New Agent HQ. On this channel, we try to give you all the resources to be confident and successful as a new agent from day one. If you like this kind of content, smash the like button and subscribe, and be sure to check out this video here. I think you'll enjoy it.